I am Tori B. This is All Things Me. Ow. It's because I had a dream last night. I usually don't record my dreams, but interestingly, one of the things I've learned about dreams is if you write them down and then if you kind of search up certain keywords, you'll get deeper meanings and deeper understandings for what your dream actually is saying or what it actually means. In this dream, I had this friend who I was going to visit during a season of transition. I remember having two apartments, and only because in the dream, I remember describing the scenario of how I ended up with two apartments. And so I'm going to go into right now what that explanation kind of was. Anyway, so in a dream, I had come across an opportunity for me to move to a new place. But I had decided that before I give up my old keys to the place I was moving from, I wanted to make sure that the new place would be officials. Official. Um, so my cousin, which his name means, let me, because I wrote that down too. My cousin name is Chris, and his name means bearing Christ. And then a nickname. It says that Chris is a nickname for the formal name, such as Christopher or Christina. Um, but just to give another description, the name Chris has a lively, youthful feel to it that points to a laid back demeanor and calm attitude. To me, when I read that, I just felt like this is describing part of my personality. Um, because I am kind of laid back. I mean, I could be a little about it too. I could be a little certain. Anyway, so I say this because there was another person in my dream that I was with. One of my siblings. I'm not gonna say what their name is, but I'm gonna say what their name means. And the people in this dream represent um parts of my personality, parts of the characteristics of who I am. Anyway, let me go ahead. So my cousin Chris and my brother, who names mean noble man. And another definition for it that is an aristocrat. And so I looked up what an aristocrat mean as well. And so an aristocrat is the highest class in certain societies, especially those holding hereditary titles or offices. It is also a group regarded as privileged or superior in a particular sphere. And so to me, that just identified I feel like my relationship with God, with Jesus. Anyway, let me keep going. Um, so So I'm gonna start back off in the dream. So in the dream, I had come across an opportunity for me to move to a new place, but I had decided that before I give up my old keys to the place that I was moving from, I wanted to make sure that the new place would be official. My cousin, Chris, and my brother, who names means nobleman or noble, pulled up. Well, and I was with them. So we pulled up. We parked outside of the new apartment. And I was still in the car because I was looking for some information in my phone. And my cousin and my brother got out of the car. And they got out of the car because it was like when we pulled up, it was like people that was in the neighborhood, they were all standing outside. They kind of like curious about who we were. They saw that we had pulled up, we would sit in the car. You could tell they figured that, we were there to kind of, I guess, new tenants or something like that. So when my cousin and my brother got out the car, they started talking to the people that were standing outside in the neighborhood. Um, I said that we got out, spoke to the people in the neighborhood. Um, anyway, I finally get out the car to try the keys to the new place, and they did not work. Anyway, somehow I knew that this meant that the opportunity to move here was no longer existed. And I remember telling my cousin and my brother that I was glad I didn't fully leave the old apartment. I get out of the car, and one of the neighbors really wanted me to come to her place. At first sight, the apartment was nice, but um I started to notice like particular things that seemed a little odd. I wrote it all out here, but I'm gonna try to just paraphrase it. Um, so the apartment was nice, and then I saw like a mantle or like a fireplace looking kind of area. I don't quite remember if there was a fireplace there, but I do remember there was like kind of like a mantle that was peeking out of the wall, and there was these what are they called? They like pedestal. They're glass pedestal candle holders. So they're like candle holders that look like wine glasses. But I noticed that when I saw those glasses, that the rim around like one of them, and for the other one, maybe it was like three of them, and for the other one, it was like fully consumed with like soot, like you could tell some kind of ashes or uh flame residue was in there. And I remember, let me jump back to the I remember thinking this person is not a Christian, and I think they do spell work or something. After a few minutes, the woman went and grabbed her things and began to tell me to come toward her as she began her ritual practice. And I began to call on Jesus. I said, "In the name of Jesus," really firmly, and proceeded to speak in tongues. And she stopped what she was doing and she was like, "You have to go." And I asked her, "Why would you start chanting and calling on demonic spirits while I'm in here?" And so my brother, my brother was excited and surprised. Um, and we left. So my brother and I began to tell my cousin, because apparently my cousin Chris was outside of the house, but it was me and my brother who actually went in the house. Anyway, so my brother and I began to tell Chris what happened inside the woman's house. I began to tell I began to tell him how we need to I began to tell Chris how we need to go to the other place, and that I'm glad I didn't give up the keys to the old place before seeing and experiencing the new one. We proceeded to tell him how the story unfolds as Chris began to chime in on the conversation as if he were there. He began to give God honor by saying, "You are the sand of the sea." And I could tell my brother heard this before because of his reaction, like I already know what you gonna say. And so and I could, like I said, I could tell my brother heard this before, but Chris worded it differently, I guess. In his response, he said, "You thought I was gonna say brown ground," and we all laughed. And that's pretty much what I remember. Okay, this is how I'll be learning new things. This is how I'll be learning new words. This is how I'll be learning what certain things means, and then just in random conversation, I'll just have like information about things that people normally probably wouldn't even be talking about. Anyway, so I've already given you guys the meaning of the name Chris. I already given you guys the meaning of my brother's name. And so I looked up the word. Pedestal glass. I looked up pedestal glass candle holders. First of all, I wanted to make sure that I was naming that object right. And I looked up each word individually. Now, this may give context, this may give insight, this may give wisdom. I don't know. I mean, I got wisdom from it. I'm going to try to relate it as best as I can, but I know that people who are spiritually inclined would gain probably more than what I may even give. So, just a just disclaimer. Anyway, so I looked at the word pedestal. Um, the word pedestal is or means the base or support on which a statue or column. There's this other word I meant to look it up. I think it's called obelisk. Obelisk. Let me say that right. Hold on. The definition. Obelisk. Okay, obelisk, a stone pillar. Anyway, so a pedestal is a base or support in which a statue, obelisk, or a column is mounted on. I think that's deep too. Anyway, um, and so I looked up glass. Glass is a hard, brittle substance that is either made transparent or translucent. And then I looked up soot or smoke because I found it interesting that I seen the soot in the glass before the lady even pulled her stuff out to even do what she do. And honestly, I think in this dream, I think it was just showing me how like my ability to be observant because I noticed the glass candles and the soot or the residue that was in there, which made me think, she does something with these things. I don't know if she burned candles. I don't know if she, you know what I mean? And you know how in dreams, kind of like knowledge you get, it's like you don't know how you know these things, you just know them. And I think because of the fact that I thought it was like, oh, I think she does witchcraft, and then all of a sudden she was like at the table chanting and being like, "Come here," and I'm like, "Oh, why would you do that while I'm here?" Like that was my attitude. Why would you do that? But I also think this speaks to a time in my life too where there's just certain things I've observed about people that if I didn't actually see it with my own eyes, I always either doubted it or questioned it or give people the benefit of the doubt instead of really just following the unction or the you know how you just get an idea, you're like, well, I don't know, I think that's funny, or I think they're doing that. Like I always find out the hard way that thought that I had was right. And I started to learn that whatever I see, whether it's spiritually or unction or ideal or possibly maybe, I had to learn to start responding to those because I got myself in a lot of unfortunate situations because I always had to wait until someone fully shown me, the things that were really under their skin. And because just what happened with people is like they'll keep trying to do things to you until they don't even care no more. They just like, I'm gonna show you this what I'm doing to you. But I believe that that's what that part of my dream represents. And then I looked up smoke and I looked up soot, and then smoke is just visible vapor. And then soot is a mass of impure carbon particles resulting from incomplete combustion. Oh, that interesting too. Soot. That means soot is the effects of someone trying or attempting to do something. And because it was incomplete, it left a residue of soot. So this dream had a lot of weight. Those who have ears, let them hear. Those who don't, won't. I don't think I'm going to explain no more. Anyway, so just to go forward, so this morning, what I decided to do after I wrote the dream down, I was just like, let me go on Bible U version and see what today's um scripture reading is. It was Psalms 55, verse 22. For anybody else, you guys can go read the whole thing. You can read the whole Psalm 55. I promise you it's good. Anyway, so Psalms 55:22, it says, cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. Um, I'll finish it off. But you, God, will bring down the wicked into the pit of decay. The bloodthirsty and deceitful will not live out half their days. But as for me, I trust in you. Um, as for me, I trust in you. That is the posture of my heart. And that idea, that notion, it's allowed me to be free from a lot of heartbreak, a lot of betrayal, a lot of deceit, a lot of malice, a lot of lies. I literally, um, after I got rebaptized and experienced the last traumatic thing in my life, I said, Lord, it's all yours. It is all yours. All the things I care about, I no longer care about these things because I don't want to keep getting my feelings hurt. I don't want to keep people keep setting me up. I keep trying to put trust in people, and they all keep failing at this thing called love. And even I myself, I was failing at this thing called self love, and so I had to start all over. I had to let everyone and everything go, and I had to really start diving deeper into the word. One of the things that kept being placed on my heart before I even returned back to church, and even in the beginning, as I did return back to church, was, you know, seek His face. And I would always hear that and be like, well, how do you see God's face if He ain't got no face? um, but I learned that reading the Bible. The more you read the Bible, the more you read these stories, the more you find stories that relate to you. When I tell you, listen, we got a lot to talk about, okay? There's some stories in this Bible that I start reading, and before I could even finish, I got my face, the tears that fall from my face. Because it's like we really got the same story. Like these people, like, oh, and then it's like to see the characters in the Bible, and then not only to see the characters in the Bible and to see their story and to understand their story and to relate it and feel it and all of that, to imagine it and all of that, it's like you get to see what God did for them. That was a game changer for me. It's like, oh, so that's why that was happening, or this what? Oh no, that was God, man. That was God. Anyway, so there's four other Bible scriptures that I came across in this, and I I kind of titled them. So I came across these verses because one of the things that kind of made me laugh um almost all day today was how in my dream my cousin was like his goofy self, like he is in real life. And the fact that he was like you are the sand of the sea. Like I know the way I read it earlier, I just read it right. But in my dream, he was like he was like, you are the sand of the sea. And then when my brother looked at him, he was like, oh, you thought I was gonna say brown brown. Like but to me, my cousin personality really came through with this. And so I say that because the fact that he was like, you are the sand of the sea. I'm like, okay, I know there's a Bible verse that says that. And so I decided to put in Google sand of the sea. 28 Bible scriptures popped up. Out of all 28, There was four that really stuck out to me that I think may go in alignment with this dream. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Read you guys that. So Hosea 1:10. This is the KJV version. I usually read the NIV. My Bible that I have is an NIV. But just because of the sake of the fact that I just Googled this real quick, it came up as KJV. Anyway, so it says, "Yet the number of children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, You are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, You are the sons of the living God." That bless me. Woo! That means just like in Daniel, God about to prove himself. That means just like in Noah, God about to prove himself. Not in Noah, as in like Noah was a book, but the story of Noah. Just like in the story of Noah, God's about to prove himself. For everyone who believe in God, believe in, Jesus, that God came down as Jesus, um, yeah, he's saying that for people who said that you are not children of God, he's like they will be changing their words. That's how I interpret that. And let me tell y'all what I named this. I thought it was funny. I thought it was cute. I'm like, ooh, I'm smart. No, sir. Anyway, Hosea 1:10. I titled it "The Test Results" because as soon as I read this, I thought about Maury. I thought about the TV show Maury, and when they said, "And the test results are in, and you are the father." Yes, God is daddy. God is the father. Okay, let me stop being goofy. My gosh. Anyway, so the next verse I picked up was Isaiah 10:22. I named this one "The Remnant Return." For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet the remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with the righteousness. I'm gonna give a different version of that. Let me see. Let me look for NIV. Let's see. Though your people be like the sand. Oh, though your people be like the sand by the sea, Israel, only a remnant will return. Destruction has been decreed, overwhelming and righteous. Y'all hear that? That also goes along with the test results that said that those who said that you are not God's children, they about to change their mind and say that you are God's child. They're gonna say He is the Father. They're gonna say the test results are in. They're gonna say you are the Father. The test results are in. Ooh, okay, let me stop being goofy. So the next one I got is Jeremiah 5:22. Yeah. That's another of these 22s because he gave me. That's interesting. The first one was what I say. The first one was the first one was Psalms 55:22. Isaiah 10:22. Now it's Jeremiah 5:22. Interesting. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and read NIV version for this one. NIV to me is just clearer to read. So when I first bought a Bible, I bought a KJV version, and even though I felt like I was doing good, because one of the things I was told was like when you read the Bible, you're supposed to analyze what's happening in the text, like discover what's going on, who is what, and what they're doing, right? And then you're supposed to figure out what the person like what was their purpose or what was their experience, what their thoughts and what may have been going on with them. And then you're supposed to apply it to your everyday life. Like how does it apply to you? How does the text apply to you? And then you're also supposed to, when you read it, kind of like put yourself in the role of the character. That way you can experience your thoughts and your emotions if you were in the situation, so to speak. At least those were the instructions that I was given when I first decided to really start reading the Bible for real, for real. And I used to write it out like it was some kind of book report. Like it was a classwork assignment. I used to have my laptop and I would write all the notes. I would write down one version of what the overall summary was. Then I would write down my perspective of the character and what it could have done, should have done, and I'll write down how it applied to me. Anyway, it's a lot of fun if you really, do it. Um, anyway, but let me just keep going. So I named this one the Seashore Line. What made me name this one this? First of all, the words of the actual text. But earlier today, I had a conversation with a friend, and he called me. And he kind of was just like, you know what, I appreciate you for who you are. He was like, I've been going through a rough time, and he's like, every time I call you, you always like, in a way, or just to summarize what he said, he's like, you always uplift my spirits. He's it's like it's almost like you always know the right thing to say to make me feel better, or to just um, kind of keep me from like I guess drowning so much in his sorrows or something like that. Anyway, and just out of that conversation, I was saying to him, I was just where I'm at in my mind and in my heart with the relationship that I have with God. And as much as I read the Bible, I've really dived deeper and discovered more of me. Um, and I'm just excited about that. And so I was telling him, I'm the daughter of the Most High God. I'm like, I'm the daughter of the God who created the stars. I'm the daughter of the God who created the sun. I'm the daughter of the God who allows rain to fall on the earth. I'm the daughter of the God who created the sea and separated the water from the lands. And I'm the daughter of the God who created the seashore. And, da, 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 and I start saying all that. So I thought it was interesting when um just even in this dream, my cousin was like, you are the God of the sand of the sea," or so whatever I say he said in the beginning. Anyway, and so this one stuck out to me too, as I was kind of going through those chapters about the sand of the sea. Anyway, so this is the NIV version. It says, "Should you not fear me?" declares the Lord. "Should you not tremble in my presence?" It said, "I made the sand a boundary for the sea, an everlasting barrier it cannot cross. The waves may roll, but they cannot prevail. They may roar, but they cannot cross it." And so God is saying, like, I'm the one who make boundaries. Like, why do y'all think that the planet has been here all this time? How many years this planet has been here? Nobody really knows. People say thousands, people say millions, some people say billions. I don't know. I just know that it's at least been here 100 years from my grandparents' birth all the way till now. And the oceans ain't never rose over the shore to the point where, there's houses that is on the beach. There's houses, there's streets that I used to drive by right there next to some water. It ain't never rained so much that that the water came all the way up to the houses over there. Them people feel safe because God has created the boundaries for the seashore, for the ocean to not cross the seashore. The tides might come in and the water may get to a certain level, but it ain't never risen above that. And so anyway, that's another reason why I chose this verse. Um, I feel like it go in correlation with the dream. I feel like it go in correlation with the Bible verse, all of it. So, and then Revelation 20 and 8. Maybe I should do a little context because it start off with and. I'm gonna do a little bit of context, so I'll probably go to 7. Oh, you know what? Interesting. So right now I'm on BibleGateway.com, and then usually when you go straight to a specific scripture. Like when you like I put in Revelation 28, literally just gave me 28. And so it had the option at the bottom of that to read the full chapter. And so I clicked it, and what I thought was interesting is this is actually this portion for the NIV beginning at chapter 7. I mean verse 7, not chapter 7. Verse 7 is called the judgment of Satan. Interesting. So I'm gonna just read 7 and 8. It says, when the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, and to gather them from battle. In number, they are like the sand on the seashore. So, um, I named that one the final judgment. I didn't even know what. See, this is the kind of stuff that be amazing me about God, or just the research that I be doing. Um, I named this the final judgment, and I did not know that this was called the judgment of Satan. Stuff like that, when stuff like that happens, I be like, oh my God, confirmation. It be confirmation on I'm on the right track. I'm on the right track. My thoughts are kind of in alignment. Anyway, I did a little bit of research because I didn't know what Gog and Magog was. And so I looked up what Gog and Magog was, and I came across a article that said the Gog prophecy means the end of days. It means the end of millennium. And so I'm not gonna go into reading the whole Gog thing, even though there are a couple Bible scriptures. I'm gonna say it and maybe even post it up as a lower third. So if you guys want to go look into it yourselves, you can do that. So Gog and Magog, it is talked about in the Bible. Um, let's see, Genesis 10, First Chronicles 1, and First Chronicles 5, Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39, and Revelation 20. And I think the Revelation 20 that is showing up in is actually the one that I just read, which is Revelation 20, verse 8. But anyway, just to sum everything up, when it comes to, I guess, the Gog and Magog, it's ultimately about the battle between good and evil. Gog and Magog is supposed to represent um like Satan and his minions against God. But at the end of the day, God prevails. That's what was that last verse I gave y'all? Yeah, that's what Hosea 110, Isaiah 10:22, and Jeremiah 5:22 was saying. It was saying God will prevail. He the one who created the boundaries. He the one who created the sea. He the one who Maury's test results came back and said the Father is. I be thinking I'm clever. Anyway, yeah, so I just hope that, you guys gleaned something from that. I'm kind of gonna wrap it up right here. Uh this is gonna be a lot of fun. I have a lot of things in store as far as going forward. Um I released a dream today, and some of the interpretations that I got from the dream, I've expressed how I got my interpretations just to kind of, gain more understanding that I'm not just like saying things out of thin air. I've fully dedicated and devoted my life to, God. And so I want everything that I do to, represent that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I have a lot of methods of how to become more disciplined. I have a lot of life lessons that I learned about people, places, and things, and self. I want to share things about how I used to think in comparison to how I think now. I want to share the stories of why, I want to share the stories of why I thought that way and what changed my perspective. So we got a whole lot to talk about, in the words of Ralph Smart. Okay, if anybody know who Ralph Smart is, Infinite Waters. Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we gonna get on here. We gonna share that gospel. Okay, okay. Cause that's what I do now. Okay, I used to be wretched, but I'm saved. In my word, in my Lecrae voice. And they say Lecrae say, "I know I'm ratchet, but I'm really saved." Okay. When I say I felt that, I felt that. Anyways, let me get up off of here and until next time.